Hi, I've got a year-end classroom activity that builds closure for your students, as well as creating an atmosphere of anticipation for the year to come. You will need a Chromebook for each student, as well as a Google account. If you'd like to hear more, let's get started. The last couple of weeks of the school year are tough. It's hot, and if you are like me, you are likely not in an air-conditioned space, and kids are tired, you're tired, and you've got a lot of work to do in terms of tearing down a classroom, lots of paperwork potentially, signing report cards, all sorts of things. So it's nice to have an activity that is enjoyable for students, that is meaningful, and that also builds classroom community for this year, as well as establishing a foundation, or at least an anticipation for what is to come for next year for students. And so that's why I really like this activity that I call Introducing Me. And it really is just students having the opportunity to introduce themselves to next year's teacher. The way I usually start this last activity is I will do a brainstorming lesson where we will talk about what sorts of things might be nice to share with your upcoming teacher. Okay, so next steps for this activity would be to explain the expectation to students. So I would switch over to the revision and correction rubric. And this is not an activity that will be evaluated because report cards will have already been written at this point. Just a set of expectations as a scaffold and to give students a bit of a framework. So I have at least 4 slides. We would have covered that in the previous lesson where we would have talked about some different topics. I have them choose 4, at least 4. Some students love to choose a lot more, but minimum 4. So 4 slides. I have included details about myself, how we have a discussion about how they can elaborate. So for each of the topics chosen, just different ways to be descriptive. And then lastly, I included a title page and pictures and images. So at this point, I would pop into a fresh Google slide presentation, and I would show students how to do this. So let's go ahead and do that. I am typically going to push a Google slide presentation into students' Google Classroom. However, for the purposes of this video, we're going to start fresh. I like to start with a blank Google slide presentation because I like the ability to teach students how to use all the different features and just to use their imagination and their creativity. I teach them how to use a title page, and I also teach them how to use this button to add pages so that they can add a page for each of their topics. And from here, I also talk about how to use media. So using Google Images to represent, so like, let's say if they talk about their favorite sport being hockey, then I would teach them how to go in and how to pull up images that they might like to include in their presentation. The other option is to upload their own photos, which they can do if they can have them uploaded into their Google Drive at home. Then they would have access to that here in, let's say, photo and images. That would pop up here in their Google Drive, and then they could push that also into their presentation. So an actual photo of their family or an actual photo of them and their hockey, playing hockey or whatever the case might be. So lots of different ways we can be creative with or without our own photos. The next page on my presentation would be this page. This is sort of a little bit of a launch for our writing block. And so I like to have a YouTube video displayed here, countdown timer. I like it to be seasonal. So if this is summer, then I'll choose a summer theme, and this will be a 1-minute countdown timer for students to organize themselves to get ready to write. And once students begin the writing time, I usually, for grade 3, I like to display another countdown timer here. And this one would be for 20 minutes typically. So providing 20 minutes for the students to have uninterrupted writing time. And then I display the revision rubric as a scaffold or as a support for them. And then at the end of our writing time, I will display this slide. And this is another countdown video, another 1 minute. And this one is going to give them 1 minute to stop their writing, tidy up their materials, and prepare for whatever transition awaits at the end of this timer. The only other page I project once students have gotten through the bulk of their revision work is this correction rubric. And again, this would be another YouTube timer pushed into here, typically 20 minutes for probably what would be the last day or so of the project. I also keep a hard copy with me at my teacher table of this revision and correction rubric so that when students come to me with the Chromebook and think that they may be ready to be done, I simply just hold this up and I have them self-reflect or self-evaluate to what extent they've met each of the expectations. And then that becomes the onus is on them to decide whether they are in fact done or whether they need to go back and perhaps either add some more detail or do some more revisions or go ahead and make some more corrections. And for those early finishers, it's really fun for them to experiment with the transition and animation features in Google Slides. And as well, oftentimes we have some time to fill at the end of the school year, and we will fill it by presenting this Introducing Me project to our classmates. So hope you enjoyed my video, and thanks so much for tuning in on Classroom Community, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks, bye-bye.